21-year-old administrative assistant Monica Zamora is suing her ex-fiancé, 22-year-old customer service rep Ronald Jones, for unpaid rent and medical bills resulting from an altercation. Ronald has a countersuit for the cost of his furniture after she slashed it with a knife.
Order. All rise. Yana, this is case number 602 and 604 on the calendar. One in the matter of M. Zamora versus Jones, the other one in the matter of R. Zamora versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
According to your complaint, you and the defendant were living together. You planned on getting married. Didn't work out. He moved out.
Okay.
You claim he owes you some money for some rent, some bills, and in addition, shortly after he moved out, he came back, there was an altercation, and he injured you, and you want him to pay your medical bills.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when did he move out?
He moved out in June of '99.
And what month's rent do you claim he owes you?
Last month's rent.
Which month?
October.
But he wasn't living there.
No. His name was still on the lease, so I expect him to still pay half.
And how much was the rent?
The rent was $430.
Okay. Now, what kind of damage did he do when he moved out?
While he was leaving, police officers were present because previous altercations between us. After he did leave, there were damages done to the apartment.
After he left?
Right after he took all the furniture and everything out with him.
Like what kind of damage?
Holes burnt in the carpet, holes in the walls. I have pictures if you would like to see.
I'd like to see the pictures, and I would like to see the landlord's estimate. Have you moved out of the apartment?
Yes, I have.
When did you move out?
I moved out in October.
Now tell me about the next part of your lawsuit, which has to do with an assault.
He came to my apartment after he had left. He had heard rumors that I was seeing somebody new and got jealous.
When was that?
This was in September. He came to my apartment. We got into an argument. We ended up outside, and an altercation happened between us.
Well, tell me about it.
I was arguing with his new girlfriend, and he grabbed me by my arms, putting multiple bruises on me, which I also have pictures of. We were pushing and shoving, and my knee popped. The ambulance was called. I went to the emergency room.
Well, how did your knee get popped?
He pushed me.
Not true at all. Not true at all, Your Honor.
How did he push you?
When he had grabbed me by my arms, I was trying to make him let go of me. I tried to get away. He grabbed me from behind with his right hand around my throat. When I was trying to get away from that, I was twisting and turning since he had a hold of me, and that resulted in my knee popping.
Were you fighting with his girlfriend?
No, I was not.
Were you fighting with him?
Yes, I was.
How were you fighting with him?
Trying to get his arms off me.
How did you get outside?
I was trying to get him out of my apartment.
How were you doing that?
He tried to shove his way in my door, and I told him to leave. It resulted in a fight. He tried to steal my cat, try to get my cat back. After that, that's when he grabbed me by my arms and then grabbed me from behind with his...
How did you try to get your cat back?
Just ran after him.
Were you arrested for that?
No, ma'am, I was not.
Were you taken into custody?
No, ma'am.
No charges were ever filed with regard to that case?
Later on, about a month later.
I pressed charges the same day, Your Honor.
It was about a month later, I received a phone call from my father at work. It said that there was police officers came for a warrant. I turned myself in, and then it proceeded from there. I had to go to court for it and everything.
Well, that's what I want to know. You did go to court. Did you have a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
Did you appear before a judge?
Yes.
Was the case resolved?
Yes.
How was it resolved?
I had deferred prosecution, where I had to stay away. We had to both stay away from each other for 180 days. If no altercations were occurred in 180 days, then the case was dismissed.
You may call it a deferred prosecution, but it really is a period of 6 months probation.
Okay.
Did your lawyer explain that to you?
No, he didn't explain it to me fully. Like I said, he said I had no charges were pending or anything like that. The prosecutor informed me that there wasn't enough evidence and I had too many witnesses.
Don't tell me what the prosecutor told you about not enough evidence. There wasn't enough evidence. You should have insisted on a trial. Then you would not have had a 6-month probationary period. What did you go to her house for in September?
I was with her sister and my girlfriend here. We went to her house. I dropped her sister off. She said she had to talk to her. And at that time, we had a cat that I got, and it was running around in the stairs. It ran up the stairs. I followed the cat. She was already talking to her sister at the time with the door open. I went up there to get the cat. I picked up the cat. Then the man that moved in with her after I left the place started saying stuff to me, arguing with me. Then she proceeded to argue with me. She came at me, smacked me in my face, started punching me in my chest.
Not true.
I went to walk away. Her sister grabbed her, told her to leave me alone, to let me go. I grabbed the cat, proceeded down the stairs, got all the way outside of the apartment building. She ran past me, went to my car where my girlfriend was sitting. The window was cracked. She was talking on her cell phone. She proceeded to stick her hands through the window, the cracked window, grabbed her by the hair,
Not true.
and started pulling her out through the window.
Did that happen?
Yes, it did.
Go ahead.
That time she grabbed her, I told her to let her go. I did grab her arms to pull her hands away from her hair. I said, let go of her hair, let go of her hair. She said, no, I'm not going to let go. I said, let go of her hair and I'll let you go. She finally let go of her hair. I backed away, and then she proceeded at me again to hit me. She got out of the car. Then Monica proceeded to go after her. When she started proceeding to go after her, she hurt her knee, fell down.
Your Honor,
Then
I
the
have
ambulance was
pictures
called.
of the multiple bruises that were on my arms that he gave me.
Oh, I'll take
And
a
there's
look at
no other
them.
way I could have gotten these.
I'll take a look at them. How do you think that happened, Miss Zamora? How do you think these black and blue marks happened?
By him. He gave them to me.
How?
By grabbing me and holding on to me. He's done it for 5 years. It wasn't the first time.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monica Zamora says her ex-fiancé, Ronald Jones, owes her for rent and for medical bills resulting from an altercation. Ronald says Monica slashed his furniture and slandered his name on the internet.
All this isn't as clear as you make it appear. I want you to know that I understand that. He says that there was another person that moved into the house shortly after he left.
He lied
So I'm
about
go-
that.
Just a second. Did you at that time have some other person, a male, staying over occasionally at your house?
No, ma'am. Never did he stay one night. Yes, I started seeing somebody. This is the reason he came to my apartment.
I mean, I don't see why he would come over there with his new girlfriend.
His new girlfriend is my new boyfriend's ex-girlfriend.
So
That's the
what?
reason they're together.
So what?
There was
different-
nobody staying with me.
Listen to me.
I had 3
Listen-
jobs to pay my bills.
Listen to me. He didn't come over there because he was jealous. He may have come over there because his girlfriend said to him, why are you being such an idiot and paying the rent when he's staying over there with her? Now, that may or may not have been true. Certainly, he was there on that September day when this altercation took place. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Put your hand down. You know, you have to be objective even with regard to your own children, right? Now, I want to know why you went outside.
He took my cat and grabbed it. That was a gift to me.
So you went outside after him.
Yes, I did.
And are you telling me you never went over to his car?
No, I didn't. I didn't even
Step
see.
up.
Didn't even see his car.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Jennifer
Jennifer what?
Martinez.
I want you to tell me about this day in September of 1999, if you can recall it.
Well, like Ron said, I was sitting in the car talking on my cell phone. The window was cracked about maybe this much, and she reaches her hand in the car and says, get out. And she's grabbed me by the side of my hair. She has me by the side of her hair. I asked her, what are you doing? She said, get out. So she reaches her other hand, and at this point in time, both arms are in about this deep. She busted my face on the left
Why didn't you
side
press
underneath
charges?
my eye. At that time, Ron went over there. He was like, look, let her go. There's no need for this. We're leaving. We're leaving. We're leaving. So she's like, no, get her out of the car. I want to beat her up and so forth and so on for whatever reasons of her own. To this day, I don't know. Fine. So she tries to get me out of the car. So I told her, how am I going to get out the car out of a crack of a window? Let me open the door. So she's all pressed up against the door.
Okay, that's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. Sit down.
Thank you.
Sit down. I want to hear something, Mr. Jones, about your countersuit.
Okay.
You say that Ms. Zamora took a knife and ripped up furniture.
That's correct.
Tell me about it.
That day, the day I moved out, she called the cops because I wanted to move out.
Why would the police be called to the house?
Because I wanted to take my stuff with me, and she thought that she was able to keep it. When everything was in my name, I had receipts for it. I showed the police.
Okay, so that's why the police were called, because
Yes.
you were taking some property out of the house. Okay, and what happened?
The police told me I had to get my stuff and go as soon as possible. So they waited there. They waited there until I got my stuff out. Before the police were called, before the police got there, I was moving some stuff downstairs to the...
What stuff?
I was moving clothes. I was getting my clothes, putting them in bags, and taking them downstairs to the basement, so when my family got there to help me move, I'd be all ready. When I came back up, she was putting a knife back into the kitchen sink. I started to proceed to move the furniture out of the living room, and there were slashes in the side of them. I do have pictures if you'd like to see those.
Can I see them, please?
I saw the furniture.
There's one slash. Is that right? Is that what you're telling me?
There's a slash in each end of the couch and the love seat.
I see. Did you do this?
No, ma'am.
There's no reason for me to rip my own furniture when I paid for it.
No. There isn't.
I paid for that furniture. That furniture was in both of our names, but it didn't matter to me. I just wanted him to leave.
Well, why do you think somebody would slash the furniture like that?
I have no idea why he would do that.
I have
Or
no
who
idea
else
why
would do
anybody
it. I
would
don't
do
know.
that to their furniture either. All right. There's another part of this lawsuit. Now you can stand up, Mr. Zamora, because you're suing him because you say he borrowed $350 to use as a security deposit for the apartment. Did he borrow that money for security deposit?
He borrowed the money to get an apartment and incidentals. He did not have a place to live. He had just started to work.
Security deposit is $445. Who put down the security deposit?
I borrowed the money from him, Your Honor, for the security deposit.
So you put
Yes.
down the security deposit on the apartment
I
with
put down-
his money.
Right. I put down a first month's rent, and he loaned me the rest of it for the security deposit, which I borrowed $550 from him.
And you paid some
I
back.
paid some back.
So $350 is left. Is that right, Mr.
Yes.
Zamora? So your daughter did not put down any security deposit in this apartment. Is that right?
Correct.
The cleaning and painting is just $395.
Yes, I'm only asking for half the last month's rent, but I want him to pay for all of the damages because he did the
No,
damages.
no. $395 is cleaning and painting.
Okay,
Half of that, say it's $200.
okay.
But he's already got $350 in there for security deposit because she didn't put any in. You can't get it both ways. You can't get your loan back from him, plus you're going to get back the money from the security deposit that's not eaten up by the landlord's cleanup. Can't get both. You following me? Perfect. So, in addition, I don't believe your daughter with regard to what happened that day in September when she called the police and there was an altercation at the house. I don't believe
We have
her
previous
story.
reports.
What?
We have previous police reports of their altercations.
I don't care about previous. That's
mean,
not what I'm here
he's a
talking
violent
about.
person.
I'm telling you, I do not believe the story that your daughter told me that he assaulted her the way she described it and that she was solely without blame. I do
Oh, no,
not.
It takes two to argue.
I do not believe that it came about the way she described it to me, that he, for no reason whatsoever, assaulted her. I do not believe it happened that way.
We have previous police reports of him assaulting her.
Stop it!
Oh, no, I mean, so he's not going to stop assaulting her unless you tear him apart.
I believe that she got bruised in the arm because she went after his girlfriend in the car. I believe that that happened. I'm not saying you're blameless with regard to the altercation that happened in the house. I believe that you shouldn't have been there.
Correct.
Period. End of discussion. You should not have been there. You precipitated something that developed into maybe more than what you bargained for. You had no cause to be there at all. But I do not believe it happened in the way that the plaintiff described, so I am not holding you responsible for her medical bills. You have a hospital report?
I should.
Sir, and I'm not even entertaining your defamation of character end of your lawsuit. She said she put nasty things about you on the internet?
Yes, Your
Like
Honor.
what?
I have a paper printout of from American Online.
Let me see it. Do you have a report from any of these
A report.
that says that what the x-rays found?
I think that's all I have, Your Honor.
Show this to the plaintiff, please. Is that your handle on the internet?
No, it's not. But it's funny. But
Yes,
no,
it
I did not do this.
What proof do you have that she did that?
That is her online name. Her nickname is Coca. Since I've been with her for 5 years, it's always been that. My friend was online. She emailed him. He didn't know who it was. He looked up her online, her profile. That's under her profile. He called me the next morning and told me what was going on. So I asked him to print me a copy of it.
Did you ever use the name Coca?
Yes, it's been my name for a long time.
Well, why didn't you say that? I said, is this your handle? You said no.
Oh, I thought you asked me if I did that.
I didn't ask you if you did that. I said, is this your handle?
Yes, it is.
Uh-huh. Why would anybody put such a terrible thing on the computer?
I don't know, ma'am. I can't tell you because I didn't do it.
No?
I did not type those things. Anybody could have typed that.
Well, I know that.
I
know that anybody could have done it.
Could have even been her sister. Her sister has added quite a bit of fuel to the flame between these two, including taking him to the apartment.
Could have been a lot of things. Somebody else could have used her name, and somebody else with a grudge against both the defendant and his new girlfriend might have written that both of them are highly contagious with one or more venereal diseases. So there may have been somebody who used your daughter's name, who also had a personal axe to grind against these two people, who would write something like this and put it on the internet. That's possible. It's a bit far-fetched. It's a bit far-fetched. If I was satisfied by the required quantum of proof that she had, in fact, done this,
Okay.
oh, I would award you substantial damages.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
I'm very familiar with online. You cannot get on somebody's profile without your password to get into that computer.
How do I know about this profile? How do I know that somebody
That's
used her
exactly
profile?
what that statement is from. That's from her profile. That's why she puts her nickname in there. That is her profile.
Do you understand that? Bert, all I want to know from you is...
You can't get onto somebody's profile.
Could anybody have written that?
Fundamentally, Judge, anybody could have written this.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I want to tell you something. I'm not convinced that you're going to get a penny from the assault, because I think that you were at least partially involved with her, which caused the bruises to your arms, so you're not going to get a penny for that. You're not going to get a penny for your $350 that is outstanding from the loan. Get it back from the landlord when the lease is over. You are going to get $215 towards October rent. Do you understand? That you're going to get. I am, in fact, satisfied that the plaintiff did damage your furniture, because I see no reason why somebody else would damage furniture that they intended to use that looked brand new to me. Do you understand?
Yes.
You understand. So I'm offsetting the $215 that he owes you for the rent to have your furniture repaired. Goodbye, folks.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
22-year-old carpet layer Christopher Majeski is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old homemaker Tracy Yamry, for belongings he claims she took from a storage shed. Tracy is countersuing, claiming Christopher broke into her home.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 194 on the calendar in the matter of Majeski versus Yamry. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Majeski, according to what I've read, sir, you and the defendant were involved in a relationship, lived together in various places, and the two of you rented a storage unit, right?
Correct.
The storage unit was in her name.
Correct.
And when you ultimately broke up, you took your stuff out of the storage unit.
Yes.
But you asked to keep the storage unit because you still had stuff there.
Right.
And the agreement was you were supposed to make the payments on the storage unit because she didn't have any stuff there anymore, right?
Right.
Then, according to you, you started to receive delinquent notices from the storage unit.
About 3 months after I left and went back to my mother's house, I was receiving delinquent notices that the rent hasn't been paid, and I was
On the storage unit?
Yeah, on the storage unit. I called him numerous times asking him to pay this off, and he, oh, I'll do it, I'll do it.
Does that have a ring to it, sir?
Yes.
So you went to the storage unit and you cleaned it out?
Yes. No, I didn't clear it out. I took what I could take or what I thought would be the amount that he owed me. I had my cousin's boyfriend's
What do you mean the
truck.
amount he owed you? What is
For
that
the
mean?
for the storage shed, about the $100. I rounded it up to $100. I got $80 that he owed.
Did you pay for the storage unit?
No, I didn't.
So what did he owe you money for?
I wanted to take this as collateral to know that he would pay off the storage shed.
What did you take with you?
A couple lamps, a microwave, a kitchen set, and there was a couple of miscellaneous boxes with miscellaneous stuff in it.
Okay, what was left?
Everything else that was in his storage shed, everything else.
And what did you do when you left the storage shed?
I shut it back up and locked it, and then I left.
Ultimately, you went to the storage unit and found it emptied out. And you were still, at that point, delinquent in payments.
Yes.
So the question is, what happened to the rest of his stuff?
I don't know.
Well, let me see the police report. What proof do you have that she took all your stuff?
Because some of the stuff that she gave back were in different boxes, all little figurines and stuff from Las Vegas that my mom had given me. They were all in different boxes. She took the vacuum cleaner that I did not get back yet. I seen in her apartment, and a couple other odd items.
What do you want to say? You could stand up. Go ahead.
Tracy had said that she only wanted the $100, take $100 worth. Well, just what she mentioned was well over $100 worth.
He got it back.
Not all of it.
He got back most of it. You have his vacuum cleaner?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. We've seen it in there.
You have any other stuff that belongs to him?
No, I don't. And I would like to point out that on August 26th of this year, my witness, Mark, was at a bar downtown in St. Cloud. And Chris approached Mark in the bar. Can I have him come up?
I assume you have something to say. You're Mark.
Hi, yes, I'm Mark.
Go ahead.
Chris had noticed me up on stage in a bar. I was doing some dancing. He came up to me and he said, "Mark, I'm sorry for everything that's going on. I dropped the case because I don't think Tracy has my stuff anymore. I think has it, which is another guy. I don't know. I have no idea who he is."
Who's?
This is another friend that I suspected him and her taking it because...
So first you thought it was somebody else that
Yes.
took your property?
I thought it was.
Hmm?
Yes, I have.
And how did you retrieve the rest of your stuff? The stuff that she had in her apartment?
She later on gave it to my mom, but the vacuum cleaner's still not there, and it wasn't in the
Stop with the
apartment.
vacuum cleaner. What did she give back to your mom?
A microwave, bookshelf, dresser, a box of like a few movies, little odd things, kitchen utensils, and that's about it.
Did you need a little truck to go and get the stuff?
Yeah, the dresser was big.
So she gave that back to your mom. Good. And she called you and she said, "This is the time you can come pick it up"?
The police called, but there wasn't everything in there that she was supposed to take it.
Well, we don't know that she took it, madam. That's your problem.
Well, I
Your
was
son
in
was
her
not
apart-
responsible. Your son was not responsible in making the payments as he should have. Did you know he was supposed to make payments on this storage unit?
He is of age, and that I guess that was none of my business. Who
Good. You're absolutely right. Have a seat. Now I'm going to hear about your counterclaim, and I want to hear about it quickly.
After our mutual friend showed up at our apartment that day,
Which mutual friend?
Erica,
Yeah?
I was laying on my couch. I was about 6 months pregnant. This was in November. I was about 6 months pregnant.
November of '99?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Mark had left to go to work, and he locked the door every morning. Every morning I went onto the couch because it was easier for me to sleep on the couch. I heard him lock the door that morning. I was awake. Then I fell back asleep. About 10 o'clock, I woke up and I heard somebody calling my name. And at first, I thought it was maybe an older woman in our apartment that needed my help. And I'm like, no, the door is locked. And I woke up and I saw Chris standing in my dining room, and I saw his mom off in my little hallway area. And I woke up and I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. And I asked them, like, how did you guys get in my apartment? And they're like, you know why we're here. And I'm like, you guys need to leave my apartment. And they weren't leaving. I was yelling at the top of my lungs for them to leave. In the meantime, Chris is walking around my apartment, just helping himself in. I told them to leave again. They would not leave. I got frustrated. I walked out of my apartment, and that's when they exited my apartment. I walked down to the caretaker's apartment building, paged Mark with the labor code so he knew to come home right away, and called the cops.
Let me see the police report.
I called the cops.
They wouldn't give me a police report. They said that it was hearsay, that he said the door was unlocked, and I know the door was locked.
Just a second.
And they
Just a
said
second.
it was hearsay.
You acknowledged that you and your mother went to the apartment. What were you doing there in November?
November,
Yeah.
when I got my stuff back.
No, in November, when you and your mom went to her house.
We didn't go to her house in November.
When did you go to her house?
This was just this year that we went. I finally found my stuff back this year. It was way more than 6 months, Your Honor.
Just a second. It was more than 6 months.
Yes.
So your stuff stayed in her house even longer than you said.
As far as I can remember.
So just a minute, according to you, your stuff stayed in her house even longer than 6 months.
Yes.
Well, what'd you wait so long for,
You
sir?
didn't know she had it.
Shh! What'd you wait so long for?
I didn't know she had it, Your Honor.
Just a second. You made a police report in March of 1999. Now you're telling me that it wasn't until 2000 that you went to her house to get your stuff back.
No, the police report, Your Honor, was the only police report I have is from the day it was stolen from the storage shed.
No. You don't know the day it was stolen from the storage
Well,
shed.
the day I found
The day
out.
you found it, which was in March of 1999. So in March of 1999, if you believe stuff is stolen from your storage shed, you go to the police and you say, I believe I know the person who did it. In March of 99, they will go to her house and say, do you have her property? You ask for an escort. You didn't go in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. According to you, you didn't go until the year 2000 sometime, which is at least 10 or 11 months later. Why?
Because I didn't know she had it, Your Honor. I suspected her and Josh, and I didn't know it was her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christopher Majeski says ex-girlfriend Tracy Yamry stole his belongings out of a storage shed.
How did you get into the house?
We knocked on the door, and we opened the door. My mom called her name and walked in. There was
You
no...
can't do that. You can't do that.
Tracy said yes. She pretty much invited us in. She said
No,
yes.
now you're lying, sir.
No. That's
Now
what
you're
happened.
lying.
She said yes. She replied.
I don't believe you.
Well, she said.
I don't believe you.
And we knocked
You
on the
mean
door,
after
called her
10
name, and
months,
she replied.
after 10 months, you arrive at her house with your mother, and what you said was, put your hand down. You knocked at the door, and the door was open, so you walked in. That's what you said. That's what you said.
police officers
You
looked at the door.
can't do that.
The police officers agreed that there was no forced entry, nothing was wrong.
It doesn't have to be a forced entry. I didn't say there was a forced entry. You mean if somebody comes to my door, knocks at my door, which happens to be open, and I choose not to respond, that person who's knocking at my door has a right to walk into my house?
She
Is that what
responded,
yours?
Your Honor.
No, you
Yes.
just made that up.
No, she
You just
responded-
made that
she-
up
she
because
responded by
first,
saying yes.
no, it's not true.
She even said it. She said, yes, who is it? You know, she thought it was somebody else, and she replied yes. Like, question like, yes, who is it?
Yes. Oh, like yes, who is it? Okay, yes, who is it? And what did you say?
We just walked in. My mom
Then you
started
just
talking
walked
to
in.
her.
Why didn't you answer? You mean to tell me
Look, Your
because somebody
Honor.
says yes, who is it, you're entitled to walk in?
We called the police, and they couldn't do nothing for us. What else was I supposed
Your
to do?
case is
to get
dismissed,
myself?
sir. You're full of baloney. As far as you
What?
breaking and entering, I'm awarding you $1. This is a long time ago, madam.
Thank
right?
you.
You understand? You get $1 on your counterclaim. You get Zippo.
What?
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wasn't sleeping. First she said she was awake, hearing him unlock the door. Second, she said she was sleeping, waking up to us. You know, it's just, she lied through the whole thing. That's what she does best.
He's trouble. He's a troublemaker.
And now the next case.
All parties on Cento versus Hamrick. Step forward, please.
22-year-old mold setter Chrissy Settle is suing her brother, 24-year-old factory worker Gary Hamrick, for an unpaid loan and a wrecked Buick.
Miss Sentel, the defendant is your brother.
Yes, Your
And there are several parts of your complaint. Let's deal with the easy ones first. There was a time when your brother was living with you. When was that?
June through September.
Of this year?
Yes.
And you claim that during that time, he borrowed some money. You didn't specify how much, that he hasn't paid you back. And you also said that when he left in September, there was a substantial phone bill
Yes,
that
Your Honor.
was left unpaid. So let's deal with that first, and then we'll get to the big part of your claim.
Okay.
How much money did you loan to him and when?
I lent him $403, September 5th. He
For
did
what?
A vehicle payment, his Blazer. He told me that if he didn't get this payment, then he would lose the Blazer, and I didn't want him to lose the Blazer, so I gave him the $403.
Is that right?
That is correct.
Did you pay her back?
I paid her back $200 right off the back, and then I paid the other half of that back in the beginning of September. She claimed she didn't receive it. There was a very big confusion. We had a county fair going on at the time. The date that I was supposed to pay her back, that she had some paperwork she was supposed to give me to take it to the bank, it wasn't there. That evening, I went to the fair looking for her, and I gave them, because my son was with her at an event, I put the money in his coat because she needed the coat for him. I wanted to make sure she got the money.
Just a minute. You put cash in your son's coat?
That is correct. I was supposed to take the coat up to her.
Yes.
Getting into the event, I could not find them, and I gave it to a mutual friend of ours to give to her. The next morning, talking to her, she claimed she did not receive the money.
Well, so then you didn't give her the money. You never gave her that extra $203. Is that what you say you put in the coat pocket in
Yes.
cash?
Well, that, and it was a total of $220-some in there. A total of 220-some.
228, Your Honor. I had lent him $25 previous for some cash for gas and that for the Blazer. And so he was supposed to put the $228 in the bank. We were busy at the fair and that.
Whatever.
Right.
You don't put cash in a coat pocket and then give the coat pocket to one person to give it to your sister at a fair when everybody's very busy. So she didn't receive the money and you never actually handed it to her, so she never got it. So you didn't pay her back.
Well, I did put it in there and I did send it, but she must not have received it as she claims.
So that's $228. And what about the phone bill?
The phone bill, Your Honor, I've got right here, and I've got summed up to $242.08.
Show it to him, please.
I've never received this before.
Right. I had spoke to him about it, Your Honor. There are, and I told him that there was a phone bill. He agreed. I told him there was a couple calls on there that added up to, one phone call was like $99, $98, and he agreed to it. He knew it. He said, fine, I'll do what I can do. He hasn't been able to do
I told her I wanted to look at the bill first.
Well, so now take a look at it, sir.
Okay. At this time, it's hard for me to tell you exactly how many of these calls are mine.
Well, this is the time. Now let me have the bill, please. Now let's hear about the big part of this, which is a car. According to you, your brother wanted a car that you had. You agreed to sell him the car for $1,000.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
What'd you need another car for? You had a Blazer.
Correct. I was going out of town, and after the Buick was wrecked, they went back on their word, said they did not want to sell it to us. They were going to take the money.
You agreed to purchase the Buick from your sister for $1,000.
Total of $1,000.
Your sister says she did not transfer title to you.
Correct.
Because you hadn't started making the payments yet.
Correct.
Is that right?
That is correct.
But she let you use the car.
Correct.
She says with the understanding that until you had your own insurance, you were the only one who was going to drive the car.
Not true.
Your Honor, that is true. I called him from work.
That is not true.
I told my husband and my mother.
I don't want to hear your husband and your mother.
Sorry.
Husband and your mother has nothing to do with him.
I called him while I was at work. I called him while he was at home. That weekend, he told me that he was going to buy the Buick for her, which at that time he was getting ready to leave town and move to Michigan with this other girl, okay? So he wanted to buy this Buick for her. I told him, fine, nobody else drives it but you. You're covered. She is not. You make sure you get insurance. He said, I'll do that first thing Monday morning. I said, fine, that's great. Nobody else drives it. He said, okay, I got it.
Not true.
Shh, 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 shh. Mr. Hamrick, you'll have an opportunity, sir. Go ahead.
And he knew that because he was driving it before. He was covered.
They knew I was leaving town. They knew that Heather needed the vehicle to drive to work. They knew she was driving it.
Who's they?
Gave me. I never discussed with my brother-in-law. I did all talking with my sister.
Oh,
she did know. She did know that I was driving it.
The lawsuit says while he was using the car, he let his girlfriend drive the car.
Correct.
She was in an accident where the car was damaged, impounded,
Yes.
and she was hospitalized. For how long were you hospitalized?
I just went to the emergency room.
They picked her up by ambulance.
I asked her a question.
Sorry.
She can talk. What kind of damage was done to the car?
Your Honor, I've got a bill here and some photos.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. Now, they spoke with my husband.
You know what? I don't care
Okay.
what they said with your husband. All right, so let's see. So somebody hit you in the rear,
No, it was just me in the accident.
but you do have insurance.
Yes, Your Honor, I do. And
Okay.
I've got a statement here for that also.
I'd like to see the statement.
Your
No,
Honor, I also have a copy of her medical bills from the accident.
I had,
too.
So what does that have to do with this case?
Well, like you said, they're carrying the insurance on it. The medical should have covered her medical bills for that. There was no disagreement about her driving the car.
Your Honor,
There's no
it's on
Just a
this
second. Does she have her own insurance?
It
Yes.
She was in an accident with nobody else but herself. Why didn't she pay her own medical bills?
because there was medical insurance on the car at the time that they knew she was driving it, and that was the same day that was agreed upon that I would put insurance on the car. Knowingly that she was driving it, they kept their insurance on it till I put my insurance on it.
Well, you didn't understand what I'm saying to you. She was in an accident all by herself, which means the accident was totally her fault.
Correct.
Why should your sister have her insurance pay for her medical bills when there is a possibility if she does that, her insurance premiums will go up as a result of her negligence? Let her pay her own medical bills. She had the accident. She caused the accident. She should pay her own medical bills. Now your sister is out, her car, and $1,000.
Which didn't have to be.
Shh, just a minute. Who should pay for that?
I should have paid for the car
Good.
as originally agreed.
Good.
Only.
That's what you're going to pay. $1,000 to the car because you let girlfriend over here drive it. Your girlfriend's going to pay for her own medical bills because she had the accident. She drove herself into a ditch. And you're going to pay $475 that you owe your sister for your phone bill and for the remaining cash that you put in a coat pocket and gave to some clown at a fair.
That doesn't total up to $475, Your Honor.
Oh, it does to me, sir. It does to me.
You're
phone
adding the
bill,
cash on top
phone
of that?
bill, and $228. $475 plus $1,000.
Okay.
$1,475. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
25-year-old graduate student Iodiji Oladunjoye is suing 60-year-old painting company president Bill McCracken for the cost to replace 2 coats and a sweater. Iodiji says they were ruined because of his company's negligence.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 369 on the calendar in the matter of Oladunjoye versus Pacific Painting. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Oladunjoye, according to your complaint, you live in an apartment.
I do.
The defendant owns a contracting company, painting contracting company, and his company painted the complex where you live. You came home one evening, there were no wet paint signs out, and some of your clothing was damaged.
That's correct.
In addition to the value of the property that was ruined, which was several $100s, you're suing the defendant for $5,000 because you claim that as a result of your not having your property because there was paint on it, you became ill, you got a cold, you got a pneumonia, and you want him to be responsible for all of your illness as a result of not having your coat, right? That's what you say.
That's what I said. But what I want him to be responsible for is for their actions.
Well, responsible for the actions means paying for the property. It doesn't mean paying your foolishness if you don't go out and put on a sweater, madam. You understand that?
I do.
Good. Well, I'm glad we understand that right now. I'm not entertaining that part of your lawsuit which seeks reimbursement for your cold or sore throat.
No problem.
If you're cold, good, you put on a sweater. Either with or without paint. Okay, when did this happen?
December 16th, a year ago.
When were you first notified, sir, that there was damage to her property?
We received a letter in which she pointed out what had happened. The exact date, I don't know. We could not find the letter, but it was, to my recollection, it was sometime in springtime, I believe, when we finally did receive the letter. There was no return address and no telephone number for us to contact her.
That seems sort of irresponsible of her to send you a letter of complaint without giving you an inkling about how she could be contacted, sir, so I tend to disbelieve that.
Okay.
Since you don't have the letter, I tend to disbelieve that this very intelligent young woman would just write you a kvetch letter so that it would make her feel better. What she was doing is saying, I want to be reimbursed for my property. I tried to have it cleaned, which you say you did, couldn't be cleaned, and I want you to reimburse me for the property if you can find me. You got it? Okay.
Yes.
You have a copy of the letter?
Yes, I do.
Come on, see it, please. It's a copy of the letter that you cannot produce since there was no way of contacting her. You did nothing.
She contacted us.
But you did nothing.
We did nothing.
And then she contacted you again, right?
Yes.
What did you do in response?
I said that I would, when I had time, I would come by and look at the articles of clothing.
Mm-hmm.
I did not. We were in the process of a reorganization, and I am now in a different company.
So you didn't do as you said you would do, which was to come over and take a look at the damaged goods?
I didn't, someone else did.
When?
Shortly thereafter, perhaps a month or so, I'm not sure, Your Honor, that Mr. Stephen Gelly, who I've brought as a witness, did go to her home and did pick up the coats.
Had she called you between the time you said you would go over and by the time Mr. Stephen Gelly went over? Had she called you again?
I believe she called one more time. I was not in.
She called one more time, probably at least, because she was frustrated because although you said you would go over there, you never did. Then she
That is
called
correct.
again, and she got Mr. Stephen Gelly. So now she's really frustrated. She writes you a letter to which you do not respond. She calls you, you say, I'll be over. You don't come over. She waits to hear from you, she doesn't hear from you. She calls you again, and finally you send somebody else over. So you understand the frustration. That's not very good business, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Stephen Gelly goes over there, and according to what I've read in the complaint, you took her coats. Is that right?
Correct.
Step up. Now, on what date did you go over there?
It was, I believe it was in May.
May.
It was in August. It was in August.
Was it that late? I knew it was in the warmer part of the year.
Okay. So you went over in August. He comes over and he gets the coats. And what did you do with the coats, sir?
Well, what I was going to do was the nylon...
No, don't tell me what you were going to do. What did you do?
Oh, I had a conversation with the plaintiff.
Yes, and you said you were going to take the coats and see if you could get them what?
This particular one, these did not look like they could be cleaned because they're a soft material, whereas this is a nylon shell, so it looked like it could be cleaned. We tried, and just as she had, it was not, we were not able to clean them. The letter that she had, it was actually, I think, a fax that she had sent over as opposed to a letter. That was the first time I had seen it, was in August.
She sent you a fax. She sent you a fax.
Is that what it was?
Copy of which I have.
Right. And I asked her how much she thought the articles were worth, and she gave me the letter, and I read through it, and I'm going by memory. Again, I believe this one was $250, or $275, $250, and $200 for the sweater. And I don't know value of clothing, but the sweater itself was a Cambridge Classic, which I think is a standard brand from Mervyn's.
After you ascertained what you thought might be the value of the property, what did you do?
I wasn't able to ascertain it because...
So what did you do? After you weren't able to ascertain the value, what did you do?
There was nothing...
Did you call her?
No.
You didn't call her?
No.
Did somebody else call her?
No, I was still in the process of trying to ascertain what the value was.
How long did that take you?
Maybe a couple weeks that I had the clothing from the time that I first talked to her.
Okay, so you had the clothing for a couple of weeks. You're still trying to ascertain, and what happened?
She called me on probably a Wednesday, middle of the week, and said she would like to get this resolved. She was going on a trip. At that point, I didn't have an answer for her as to what the value was. The following Monday, she came into the office, and I think it was a Monday, and demanded that she talk to me right then. The secretary called me on a cell phone and said that she was there and wanted to talk to me. She left this on my voicemail. I called back when I got the message, and the plaintiff had left, and I subsequently had a voicemail from her. She was very, very angry.
Understandably.
Mm-hmm. And,
I waited in the office for 45 minutes.
Understandably very angry.
Yeah,
I want to know when somebody called her after she's made numerous attempts at contact. She has sent you a fax dated December 16th. She has called repeatedly and gotten absolutely no satisfaction. When, for the first time, did you call and make her an offer with regard to her jackets?
There was no offer made.
Why is that?
After she had left the office, like I said, the voicemail that I had gotten was very, very angry. She said, this is not going to go down easy for you. I'm going to make this very difficult for you. At that point, I contacted the office. I said, I'm not going to be able to ascertain the value of this. Go ahead and return her items, and I think the best thing to do is litigate this. Because
bad business.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Iodiji Oladunjoye says her clothes were ruined due to the negligence of painters working at her apartment complex. Bill McCracken, painting company president, says his men were not at fault.
Can I see the coats, please? I'm just trying to see the paint on
it's
this.
on the inside of the coat.
How did it get on the inside of the coat?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, who was wearing the coat?
I was wearing the coat and the sweater.
Who was wearing this?
My boyfriend was.
Where is he?
He's in the Navy. Can I finally say something, please?
Sure.
This has been going on for almost 8 months. If I really was bothered about the money, this was not about the money. But you don't just come to my house, promise me you're going to take care of my jacket and deprive me of my property for almost 3 months with no call or anything like that. That's very bad business, and you stand here and want to criticize me.
Don't talk to him. Didn't I say that to him?
I'm sorry.
Somebody came to your house, a very nice gentleman came to your house, he takes your property, you don't hear from him for weeks.
That's stealing, actually.
No, it's not stealing. Don't make a, listen, just like your cold isn't their problem,
Well,
your sore throat isn't their problem,
I think you should
because
do
there's
that.
nothing preventing you from wearing this
Not
jacket.
if they have the jackets. They did have the jackets with
Listen
them.
to me, Adam. You gave them the jackets. Listen carefully to me. You gave them the jackets. You could have just as easily said to him, you may look at it and see the paint, but I do not have another winter jacket. I do not have anything else to keep me warm. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
I was
That's
naive.
not being-
He told me he was going to be back the next day.
There is not a naive bone in your body.
There.
You're a
be
very
surprised.
You're a very smart lady, but they engaged in business practices that are very, very stupid. The jacket clearly is an 80% down jacket. You estimate its value at approximately $250, which is very possible.
It is.
Which is very possible. This jacket is not worth $250, your boyfriend's jacket.
Okay.
Would you agree or disagree with that? Take a look. Would you pay $250 for that jacket?
Not now. He will.
Not in this world.
Not in this world.
No.
Me neither. Shopping is something I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Then you can help.
So I would estimate that the value of this property, even new, would be no more than $350. And you are suing for substantially more than that, in addition to everything else, a little bit of aggravation. I think you're entitled to something for your aggravation, because I really believe that a merchant or a contractor has an obligation to respond immediately to a complaint and not allow a frustrating circumstance to continue, because there isn't a question in my mind that while these folks went about their business as they should have and conducted their contracting business and whatever else they had to do, every time you saw these clothes in your closet, you were aggravated because in your eyes you were being disrespected by these people because they were totally ignoring you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, we get a claim that is obviously exaggerated, then yes, we respond differently than to someone who appears to be reasonable.
They obviously thought I was going to roll over and not do anything about it, but I mean, people have to speak up for what they believe in and their rights and their property.
And now the next case.
All parties on Bishop versus Taylor. Step forward, please.
52-year-old marine engineer Graham Bishop is suing his ex-girlfriend, 47-year-old cosmetologist Linda Taylor, for an unpaid loan and for the return of furniture he claims she stole.
According to your complaint, the defendant with whom you became involved moved into your home.
Yes.
And there was a time during that period that she was in financial difficulty, according to you, and you loaned her $2,000 in two $1,000 checks.
Yes.
And then you went away on a business trip, traveled out of the country or out of the jurisdiction on business. She remained in your home.
Yes.
And then she contacted you and told you that since this was a new home that you had, she had a friend who was moving and had a whole house full of furniture that she thought would be wonderful in your house, and you sent her another check for $1,000 for that furniture.
Yes.
You came home from your business trip and you found no furniture in the house.
That's correct.
Then the relationship ended and she moved out.
Yes.
You want your money back.
Yes.
Ms. Taylor, on the other hand, said that you told her she should move in with you, you would fully support her. You sent her $1,000. Furniture came, it didn't look good in the house, so she sold it to her daughter for $600, and she gave you the check for $600. When did Miss Taylor move into your home?
She moved into my home in May, the night before I left to fly to Japan.
And under what circumstances did she move into the house?
She came to me and asked to borrow money.
What did she need the money for?
She said she needed it because she was going to school and having some financial difficulties. So I gave her the first check, which was $25.86 for $1,000, and on it in my handwriting when I gave it to her was personal loan.
I see it.
And then the second check is for the...
Personal loan was never on that check.
Just a second.
He has written that in.
No, that was on the check when I gave that to her.
Just a second, madam. I didn't ask you to interrupt. So you gave her these two checks, one April 24th, and then you sent her another check from
Yes,
Japan?
she requested for additional money by email, and I
Do you have the email?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
And then there was a further email where she had mentioned
Well,
that
let
she
me
had
read this one, sir.
Okay. The highlighted parts.
Hmm?
The highlighted parts.
Yeah, well, you don't mind if I read the whole thing, do you?
No, go right ahead.
You said you had another email, sir?
Yes, she mentioned the fact that when I loaned her the money that she had a lawsuit that she would be...
Well, that I want to see, because so far...
Because she said she will repay me at the bottom.
Let me just read it, sir.
With benefits.
She doesn't say anything about a loan here, sir.
Well, it's talking there about receiving her lawsuit, and I would reap
Just
the
a minute.
benefits in the bottom part of that. That's kind of reading between the lines.
Very much so.
Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do, sir, is tell me about this furniture. How much did you send her
I
for the
sent her a
furniture?
check for $1,000.
And you don't deny that you received that check. That was
No.
a third check for $1,000.
Correct.
So what'd you do?
What
What'd
did
you
I
do?
do?
Yeah, what'd
Okay,
you do?
my friend was moving to the East Coast. She had just bought some brand new furniture in February, and she was going to be moving in the 1st of September. And I knew Graham needed some furniture in his house, so I emailed him and asked him if he wanted it. He said, yeah, go ahead and get it. And so I did. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, and I did ask him, are you sure this is what really
Don't
is?
give me a whole big story, madam. He sent you $1,000 for furniture.
Okay.
Does he have his $1,000 back, or does he have the furniture?
It wasn't $1,000 for the furniture. He gave me extra.
You sent her other money?
Yes.
That's important.
Yes, I
Did you
have.
send her other money?
Yes, I sent her a check for $500 dated July 15th. I did another check for $500
Can I see that, please?
dated
Can I see
August
those?
1st.
That is very important, Mr. Bishop.
Yes.
Your Honor, one thing you need to know is I was paying half of the rent at my apartment. I have a lease there until January. My daughter offered to pay half of the rent to
Is
stay
your daughter
there.
living in your apartment?
She,
Just as the answer is yes or no?
Yes, my daughter's
Good.
living there. She paid half the rent.
Well, she should have paid the whole rent if she was living there. She should have paid the whole rent.
Well, in 1 month she did.
Good. So stop giving me baloney. So he did send you other money just to live. Is that right?
Yes.
July 500, 15th, August 1st, 500, August 28th, 500. And you're not even asking for this back.
No, that's not an issue before this court.
Oh, Your Honor, he has another lawsuit going on.
Not an issue before this court.
Oh, are you suing us someplace else for this
Yes.
money?
Yes,
for,
he
for the
is.
other money, yes.
Where?
In Vancouver, Washington, small claims court.
Really?
Yes.
And I did not.
Well,
count it.
shh. Under what theory are you suing her for this money in the small claims court?
Well, I have other witnesses, but
What theory, sir?
that she has told somebody else that I was generously loaning the money to her while she was living in my house and going to school.
Are you telling me, sir, that these were loans also?
Yes.
No, Your Honor.
Shh. Hey, quiet. I would suggest, sir, you reissue your summons in that case. I'm dismissing this case without prejudice. You don't go to 2 different courts and waste 2 different courts' time, sir. What you do is you bring one lawsuit. You don't bring people to court 2 different days. That's absolutely ridiculous. Your case is dismissed without prejudice. We will reinstate it so that you can appear in your own jurisdiction. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may.
And now the next case.
Parties on Sanchez versus Stemwettle. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Christian Sanchez is suing his ex-fiancée, 23-year-old Amy Stemwettle, for money he claims she owed him when they broke up. Amy says he tried to blackmail her with a nude photo.
You were together for how many years?
About a year and a half.
That's right. About that time.
And during that year and a half, you lived together for a relatively short period of time. How long?
About 6
From
months.
June to end of September.
And you say that the defendant owes you some $755. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Tell me for what?
It's for rent, phone bills, and cable bills.
You moved into an apartment together.
Yes.
A house.
House.
House. Signed a lease?
Yes.
Both your names? And what happened, Mr. Sanchez?
Well, our engagement, we broke up, and she was looking...
When?
We broke up on August 9th, 95.
Why?
It just didn't work out.
Okay. But according to your complaint, the defendant lived in the house after August of 95.
Yes, she did.
How did that come about?
Well, she asked to live a little longer because she was looking for a place to stay.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was looking for an apartment at the time.
So you broke up on August 9th. When did you finally move out of this house?
Probably the beginning of October.
And what arrangements had you made for the bills during that time?
We arranged that she asked, like, she knew that she owed me money. And
Don't tell me what she knew. What conversation did you have?
How to arrange the monthly installments. She wanted to pay by monthly installments what she owed me.
What did she owe you for?
The rent, the phone, and the cable bills.
You mean from August 9th until the beginning of October? That's 2 months.
It started from May 26, 95, when she started accruing a debt to me.
Is that right?
No, we were engaged. We were living like we were married. We put all of our money together, and he would write all the checks.
So according to you, you didn't owe him any money? How much was the whole rent on the house?
Per month?
Yes.
$500.
Well, for the time that you lived there after you broke your engagement and you were looking for a place to live, were you paying him rent?
No, we
contributing
lived,
towards the rent?
We had one conversation about it, and I had said that he had asked for half the rent, and I said that I'd pay half the rent if he paid half the groceries and did half of the work around the house, and he wouldn't do that.
So you bought all the groceries?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was. I would do the shopping, and I would do the cooking.
Well, did he agree to that? Did he agree that you would just do the work around the house in exchange for your share of rent? Did he say that's okay?
Well, it was just another argument. There was never an agreement made either way.
According to your complaint, Mr. Sanchez, there was a conversation that you had with the defendant where she said to you, how much do I owe you? And you said?
I just gave, it was like, I just said $400, call it even, you know.
Do you remember that conversation?
Nothing came up about the $400 until I called him about, I think it was this past February, and he had...
What'd you call him for?
He had a picture of me that I wanted back, and when I asked for the picture, he said, well, you can have the picture if you give me $400.
Just a picture that I assume that you wouldn't like around.
Right.
Did you get your picture back?
I did get the picture, but I don't know that he doesn't have copies or didn't show everyone in his fraternity.
You'll never know, but you got your picture back.
I got the picture back.
Okay. You didn't do anything like that,
No.
sir, did you?
No.
Okay. Ms. Stemwendel, can you prove to me what monies you contributed to the house during the months of August, September, those 2 months? Can you?
No, I kept no records of that. I didn't think that it was really necessary.
Well, it seems fair to me that while you were living in the same house and yet not engaged, once you had broken this engagement, that you should pay half of the rent, half of the utilities, half of everything else, because you're no longer in a situation where you're moving towards a marriage. You're in a situation where you're moving out the door, right? So give me some idea of what you say you contributed during this 2-month period.
Well, while I was going to school, I was a nanny, and I probably brought in $150 or $200 a week, and that, I'd say $100 of it would go towards the bills that we were paying together.
Do you remember her giving you any money during this period, sir?
She didn't give me anything.
She gave you no money?
No money.
And can you prove that you gave him any money?
No, I would have no proof of it, because a lot of times being a nanny, I'd be paid in cash, too.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I think it's only reasonable. Your initial agreement, according to you, was $400. That's certainly most fair, considering that the rent was $500. You agree with that a month, which means for the 2 months it was $1,000 that you were living there, which means if you just paid for rent alone, your share would have been $500, right?
Okay.
Okay, and that doesn't include utilities, phone, anything else. Now, during that time, if you bought groceries, it certainly didn't come to that kind of money. Your oral contract, which I believe was for $400, so it's very easy. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. Thank you.
Okay.
As I excuse you, may step out the back to the right.
On the next
Versus Dersawa, step forward, please.
67-year-old retired machinist Max Dershua is suing his son, Max Jr., 42, because he removed his father's guns from his home. He's asking for attorney fees he paid to get the guns back.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 460 on the calendar in the matter of Dersawa versus Dersawa. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Are you Mrs. Dersawa?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Dersawa, do you think your son loves you?
I don't know.
Let me tell you what he says. Your papers indicate that your son removed some guns from your house that were your guns.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Your son says that he removed the guns from your house because he was concerned about you and concerned for his mother.
Yes.
Do you think he had reason to be concerned?
Yes, I certainly do.
Why were you concerned about your father's safety and your mother's safety?
Both of them. There have been very violent fights between the two of them, several 911 calls. My father had 2 strokes. My mom had 1. During that time, there were 3 suicide attempts by my father. I had just learned of it, that that's what the events were on the 3rd one, and I removed the guns at that time. After I removed the guns, a 4th attempt was made, where he attempted also to take my mom with him, as he put it.
How?
She went to make a 911 call because she found him in the car. He had stabbed himself in the arm. And this was on my birthday. And she went to make the 911 call, and he grabbed her, put her on the ground, throttled her throat, and said he was going to take her with him.
And how long ago was that?
That was about 3.5 years ago.
And your parents are separated
Yes.
since?
During that time is when he asked for the weapons back. It was right when they started separation. And I asked him, I said, Dad, I don't want to give them back to you. What do you need them for? And he said that he needed them for the money. I told him I would be glad to purchase them from him at that time. He said he was not interested in me having the firearms and was going to do anything he could to get me free of them.
Mr. Dersawa,
Yes.
Senior, is everything that your son says so far accurate?
Yes, it is.
Don't you think he did the smart thing by removing the guns?
Yes, I certainly do think that he did the right thing, and I thanked him very much for taking on the responsibility of removing the guns from the house.
But what do you want now, sir?
I asked for the guns to be returned to me.
Why do you
And
need
he refused to return the guns to me, and I told him at that time that they were my personal property. They did not belong to him or anybody else except me, and that I wanted them back.
What do you want them for?
I originally wanted them back to hang on the wall as mementos of my childhood. And since then, I was flexible and had second thoughts, and I thought, jeepers, I'm in fairly good health.
I'm in good frame of mind, and there's no reason why I should not have the guns. And I told him to return them to me. They are my personal property, and when I thanked you for them, that didn't mean that you could keep them for the rest of your life. They are mine, and I want them, and I want you to return them to me. And if you don't return them to me, I am going to take you to court. If it costs me a lot of money in attorney's fees, I am going to expect you to reimburse me the attorney fees that it cost me to get the guns back. And he didn't listen to me, I don't think.
He seems like a pretty responsible young man that you raised, and a very nice young man. You ever had any difficulty with him before? Huh?
Yes, many times.
Okay. As an adult, sir,
Yeah.
how old are you?
I'm 42 years old.
Married or single?
Married.
You have children?
No.
Are you employed?
Yes.
What kind of-
Self-employed. I'm a photographer and hairstylist.
You remain close with your mother?
Yes.
Is that right?
I would like to say one thing, that it seems to me when my husband is angry at me, he tries to take it out on him because he knows how close we are.
How many children do you have?
I have two, Tim and Max Dursaway.
Are you the older brother?
Yes.
Where are the guns now?
The guns are at a friend of the family's house.
You put a value in your complaint on these guns of $500.
Yes.
None of us live forever, Mr. Dershowitz. What did you suppose would happen to these guns when you were no longer here?
I really couldn't care less.
Well, that's a good attitude. I mean, it really is a good attitude.
I hope they're safe, and I hope that if anybody does get them, that they are in as good a shape as I believe that they are at the present time.
Did you at one time have issued against you by any court an order of protection or a restraining order with regard to your wife?
Yes.
And when was that?
Most of last year.
At the same time that he requested the guns back from me.
Okay. Does anybody have a copy of this restraining order?
I do.
May I see it, please? How long were you and your wife married?
It'll be 43 years, I can tell you, June 10th, this year. And I'm still going to be married on June 10th, if I'm alive.
Have there been divorce proceedings filed?
No, we both agreed to a separation. However, we agreed to a separation a long time ago, and she decided for some reason or another that she would make it legal and go through the legal procedures of getting a separation. So she hired an attorney, and then I hired an attorney to protect my rights, because at that time she told me that she was going to take everything she could get.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
We're family. We don't need to go to court over this. All you have to do is tell me what you want and I'll cut you a check.
And later today,
Your son was acting like an idiot. Your son was acting like a fool.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Max Dershowitz is suing his son Max Jr. for the attorney fees he spent to get his guns back. Max Jr. had the guns removed for fear of his father causing harm.
Are you living alone now, sir?
Yes.
Do you see your other son? Do you visit with your other son?
Well, when I get an opportunity.
Where does he live?
He lives in Riverside.
That's not so far away. You have grandchildren?
Yes, 2 grandchildren.
Do you visit with them?
Yes, usually they come down to the house where I'm living, and it's so short visit, I hardly even know that they've been there.
Mr. Dershowitz, I am, quite frankly, sir, sympathetic with your position to this extent. What you're saying to me is, I'm a grown-up, I'm an adult, I have all my faculties about me, and I don't want my children to start to make decisions for me about what's good and what's bad. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, perfect.
On the other side of that coin, sir, I am really most sympathetic with your son. Because if he were the one who returned these guns to you, and you used one of these guns either to harm yourself or to harm his mother, his life's over. Do you understand that?
Yes,
His
I do.
life is over.
Yes.
And I don't think any parent would want that for their child. I mean, if you came here, Mr. Dershowitz, and said to me, I've never done anything to suggest to my son that I would harm myself or harm his mother, and he really has no basis to be concerned about these guns that are mine, I would feel very differently, sir. But that's not the case. You have attached a financial amount of money in your lawsuit.
Yes.
You are suing for money. And I will feel more comfortable. So put the burden on me so that maybe you can make friends with your son again. I am going to give you a judgment for the money. And I am going to direct you, sir, to ensure that these guns, which are mementos of your father's history, you know, he's had them in his family for years. I don't know whether your brother has sons who might be interested in having these hunting rifles at some point in their lives, but he would, despite the fact that he says he doesn't care what happens to him when he's gone, I think he would probably like to know that they remain in his family, for whatever reason.
Yes.
Fine. So I'm going to give you, sir, a judgment for the exact amount that you are requesting, and you keep the guns safe. Got it?
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Please excuse you. You may step out. Here you are, sir. I'll back to your right, please.
We're family. We don't need to go to court over this. All you have to do is tell me what you want, and I'll cut you a check.
And now the next case.
Party's on Smith versus Brown. Step forward, please.
Walter Smith and his 15-year-old son, Brian Davis, say Joseph Brown's 16-year-old son, Joe Jr., poured bleach on their carpet. Joe Jr. says Brian threatened him with a snake.
You the one with the snake?
Yes.
Up here. You the one with the bleach?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Up here. And you are the fathers of these two geniuses.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your first name?
Brian.
Brian, tell me what you did to this young man with your snake.
Well, we were out.
No, over here.
We were out in front of the houses, and I had a snake, and I went like this, like I was going to put it on him.
What kind of snake did you have?
A red-tailed boa, just a little snake about this big.
Well, you said this big, and then you
Well,
said this
about
big.
like-
Is it
about
growing?
this big.
About this big.
Yeah, about this big.
And what, you made believe you were going to put it on him?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. I was just messing around.
And then what happened?
And then he threw like a icy or a Slurpee or something, I don't know what you call it, threw it on me. And then I went back towards my house and put the snake in the garage and got a cup of water and went back outside to throw it on him. And when I got out there, he had a cup in his hand, and he said, if you throw that on me, I'm gonna throw this on you. And it was bleach in a little cup. And then what I did is I pushed it out of his hand and threw the water on him and started going home. And then he came out of his house afterwards with a whole gallon of bleach. When I got into my house, I shut my door and he started to pour it on my back, and it got all over the carpet. And then my mom started coming downstairs, and then he went back home.
Your side.
Well, it was me, him, and a couple of other people. We were supposed to be going to the bowling alley. But instead, the dude that was supposed to be driving us said that he didn't want to go. So what we did instead is we stood outside and talked. He had his snake. This snake, I don't know what kind of snake it was, this big snake. The snake is hissing and snapping and jumping up. They thought it was funny. He turned the snake on me. So I said, get the snake away from me. I guess he didn't want to listen. Then I had went in the house and I came out with my soda. And he was like, what's in your cup? What's in your cup? And I was like, soda, right? And he knocked the cup out of my hand, threw something on me. I looked down at my clothes. My jeans and my shirt were starting to fade, so I assumed it was bleach because it was a yellowish color when he threw it out at me. I went in my house, got thing of bleach and came out, and I ran after him because he was running towards his house. He ran in his house. We ran in a complete circle around the kitchen and all the way to the thing. He turned around and he tackled me. And I had the bleach in my hand. We were on the ground and the bleach was going everywhere. His moms had just came down when we was on the ground. I didn't go in the house and throw any bleach anywhere.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
We might have could have resolved the matter, but
Well,
he was adamant about having my son arrested.
Your son's the one that came into my home. You should have came over. You knew what he did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Walter Smith and his 15-year-old son, Brian Davis, say Joseph Brown's 16-year-old son, Joe Jr., poured bleach on their carpet. Joe Jr. says Brian threatened him with a snake.
Why does your son have a boa?
He likes snakes. It's out in the garage. They keep it in an aquarium out in the garage.
He didn't keep it in the aquarium.
No, that day he had it out. But the account of the story, what he's saying, based on
Were you home?
Sean. No.
Were you home?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
You don't know what happened.
Just from my little son that witnessed it, Sean. He saw the whole thing happen. It didn't happen like he's saying it happened at all.
Sean
Well,
wasn't even out.
Listen to me. Sit there. I don't want to get him involved, sir. Your son was acting like an idiot. Your son was acting like a fool.
I agree.
You think that his father should pay for all the damage to your rug?
Yes, I think his father's responsible for Joseph's actions since he's a minor.
Mhm.
And he broke into our home, and we had nothing to do with it.
No, he didn't break into your home.
I broke into your home.
Hey,
He came through our front door when it was closed and came in and poured bleach all over my son and the carpet of my home.
who started it?
Well, that's two different stories. Your
No,
Honor.
no, he told me the story. Your son told me the story, Mr. Smith. I assume you believed your son was responsible enough to have possession of a snake. Not a little teeny garter snake, but a boa that's about so big that if you are not a snake lover, you a snake lover, Bird?
Not really, Judge.
You wouldn't like it if somebody fooling around came over to you and tried to put the boa around your shoulders or on you,
No.
which is what he did.
Your Honor, I wanted to say something that this matter, I thought maybe could have been resolved between me and the neighbor. When I came home that afternoon, I had left, and the neighbor told me that she had called the police that Joseph had spilled some bleach on the carpet and that Brian had threw water on Joseph. And she said the reason she called the police was that she didn't know what time I was getting home.
Why did you call the police? Who called the police?
I did.
Why?
When I got home from the doctor.
Why?
Because someone had came through my front door unannounced, uninvited, into my home, invaded my home, and dumped bleach all over my carpet.
Mr. Smith, didn't your son tell you that he and his friend were out there and they were fooling around and it got out of hand?
Yes.
Just a
yes,
second.
ma'am.
Just a second. So why would you call the police?
I just told you that, Your Honor. I told you why.
The incident was precipitated by a dumb thing that your son did. This was not a burglary in the middle of the night, sir. They had been friends, and he's a neighbor of yours. I don't understand why
It
you
was an
called the police.
invasion of my privacy. That's my home.
All
You
right.
know,
Mr.
I would-
Smith, you're not willing to accept any responsibility for what your son did. How old are you?
16.
Let me see the bill for the carpet.
Your Honor, I was going to say that I thought maybe we could resolve it between as neighbors,
Mhm.
but when they decided to press charges against my son for vandalism and assault.
Okay. The entire bill for this looks like $1,720. Is that right?
Plus 120 for my son's clothes that were completely destroyed by the bleach.
I don't care about your son's clothes. Your son started this whole problem.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
This act of lunacy was started by you and finished by you, right?
Right.
So each of you have to pay half. That sounds fair to me.
$860, Judge.
You're way ahead of me, Bird. So, Mr. Smith, if you want to be fully compensated, then get your son to get a job and give you $860. And from these folks, I suggest you don't pay this for him. Let him pay for it. You know, Let him do something to pay for it. Teach them all a good lesson. Right?
Right.
You feel any responsibility towards what happened?
Yeah, I feel responsible for what I did.
What about you?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Only problem is your father. He doesn't see it yet, but maybe he will. $860, which is 1/2 of the cost of the carpet. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
It's on Osborne versus Holman Chesmar. Step forward.
26-year-old Kevin Osborne is suing the mother of his child, Kelly Holman, for running out with their daughter and leaving their apartment bare.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judges number 74 on the calendar in the matter of Osborne versus Holman Chesmar. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
You're Mr. Chismar?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat for a moment, sir, even though you're a co-defendant in this case.
Right.
My reading of these papers suggests that you're really not a party in interest to this. Mr. Osborne, I read your complaint, sir. You and the defendant were engaged for about 2.5 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
And during that engagement period, you had a child.
Yes, ma'am.
Sort of not the way things are supposed to happen, you know.
She had asked me to marry her.
No, she didn't make the baby herself, right?
Well, she wanted the...
Order.
She wanted the child. I did not at the time. Because I didn't know about our relationship and trusting her.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes, ma'am.
Engaged for 2.5 years, had a child. According to you, you were in jail for something. You'll tell me what in a minute. She moved out. When she moved out, she took $1,500 worth of your personal property.
And my child.
And your child. No. So, what were you in jail for?
I had a warrant for $100 owed to Burbank Court. And I got in a fight with a friend over buying a car. We were wrestling in the driveway. The neighbors had called the police. They asked me if I had any warrants. I told them yes. And they took me in on that, and that only.
Why didn't you take care of these warrants?
Because we had moved in together and got a 1-bedroom, and it was the expense of the child and all that. I couldn't afford it at all. I was trying to make a life for us and
Stop
pay
it.
utilities.
You're making me cry. What were the warrants for, sir? Warrants for parking tickets, driving while under the influence,
No,
speeding.
driving on a suspended license. I had done the time for it, but I owed court assessment, $100.
And how long were you in jail?
10 days.
And what happened while you were in jail?
In that time, she had taken my stuff, her stuff, and my child, and left the state.
Ms. Holdman, first, why don't you tell me why you left while he was in jail?
Well, first of all, we had a 3-day notice because Mr. Osborne did not get a job, and I could not pay rent and bills on my own.
Were you working?
No, I am disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Epilepsy.
So you received a disability check for yourself and the child?
No, at the time I was not receiving disability yet. I was on AFDC.
Okay. AFDC was paying the rent, so why did you get a notice to leave?
Because I could not afford the full amount
were
of rent.
behind.
And I could not afford the full amount of rent, and I could not afford all the bills. Mr. Osborne had run up phone bills that I have, and he did not give any part of his to help pay for bills or rent.
So you decided to leave. There had to be more than that.
No, ma'am. We got the pay or quit before he went to jail, and he
I
knew that we had to move.
Is that the pay or quit notice?
Yes, I
May
have
I
two
see
of
it,
them.
please?
They only
Okay.
asked for $50 to continue the rent. They made a deal with us.
You decided to move out. I have a feeling that there was more to the reason that you moved out and moved far away than just this pay and quit notice. But you left. Now, the question is, did you take any of his property with you?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Now, he's suing for $1,500. What property do you say she took?
She took dishes, clothes,
Just a
her
minute.
king-size bed that she had loaned us.
Just a second. Hold on. Let's go slowly, Mr. Osborne. Let's start with the bed.
Right.
The bed wasn't yours.
No.
Good. So let's forget
But
the
Lorraine
bed.
wants it back.
Just a
It
second.
was a
That's
loan.
her problem. I'm talking about you. She's not a co-plaintiff. You. What stuff did she take of yours?
She took ultrasound photos of the child and everything I had of the child.
Not everything. I want to hear, sir, what she took. Ultrasound photos of the child.
Yes, ma'am.
What else?
She took all my clothes.
Clothes. You say she took your clothes?
Yes.
What else did she take?
There was a fish tank, equipment, a little miniature pool table that I had for Brandy.
What else?
She had taken all my dishes.
Dishes?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dishes, sir? Limoges?
Plates, cups, glasses.
What else? That's not...
Everything in the apartment. Everything in mine that I had.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes, ma'am.
this is not why you're here, sir.
No, I'm here because of Brandy.
No, this is not why you're here, because this is a lot of baloney.
It is. And I don't care about the material things.
Because you're suing her for $1,500, but so far you haven't given me $15 worth of stuff.
I have all kinds of things that in a value. I had 4 suits in there that were $600 each. I had all my clothes. That adds
Are
up.
you telling me you spent $600 a piece on 4 suits? You
Yes,
must have some good job.
And if you, yes, I
Why would
did.
I have any use for your suits anyways?
Listen
Why
to
would
me.
I take
I don't
Sir,
know why.
Mr. Osborne, you're not here because of this
I'm
property,
here because of
sir.
Brandy. I could care less about my stuff, material things.
Well, what do you
if
want?
I win, I'm going to use that to get visitation. She will not let me see my child, and she says, take me to
I tried to
court.
let you see your kid.
Just a second. So she says in her answer to your complaint that this is all about getting some money so that you can hire a lawyer, so that you can sue her in whatever the domestic relations or family court is in
Visitation
your
is
jurisdiction.
all.
Is that why you're here, sir?
Yes,
to get
ma'am,
money
it is.
so that you
Yes,
can hire a lawyer?
Yes, I was hoping to see my child today, and she's not.
That's why you're here.
Yes.
To get money for a lawyer.
Yes.
This is not a proper forum for you, sir, to abuse the system, to come to court for that reason.
No, I also I need some clothes, something to wear. I also need.
Did you take any of his clothes?
No, Your Honor, I did
Now,
not.
you're a co-defendant. Stand up, sir. You're suing him because why?
He was a party of taking my stuff. He helped her move out.
How do you know
He's
that?
a witness of all of.
How do you, just a second, how do you know that?
She had told me, and
Who
there was
told
another.
you?
There's another.
Who told you?
Who told me? John Brown, another friend of Lorraine's, who was told her Lorraine that he had helped her
Can't
move
hear all
out.
that. I mean, it's a court, sir. Did you help her move when she left?
The only thing I moved out of there, I didn't move anything personally, ma'am. I had just had back surgery, so I wasn't lifting or doing any of that. They had brought out a dresser, the king-size bed, 2 dressers, and that was it. That's all I hauled.
You didn't haul that yourself.
No, ma'am.
What about her clothes? What about her stuff?
I didn't haul any of that.
Do I look like I need help? What does that have to do with you, her clothes?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Kelly and I were.
When I
you
get to that
shut your
house,
mouth.
go ahead, hit me, and I'll put a lawsuit against you.
Yeah, I'll bet you will.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 26-year-old Kevin Osborne is suing the mother of his child, Kelly Holdman, for running out with their daughter and leaving their apartment bare.
You had somebody, according to these papers that I have, come in and take out your things.
A
You had
friend, the most expensive stuff. My
You
tools.
had a friend come in and take out
Right, I
some
don't-
things.
Your Honor, I don't know who took my stuff.
Mr.
I don't know if it
Osborne,
was my friend.
Did
if
you
it was
just say to me that you had your friend come in and take out the most expensive things, your tools?
Yes, because that's what I did for a living.
Well, then it's not logical, Mr. Osborne, for the defendant to have taken suits which she can hardly use and left the most expensive thing
She does it to-
with the tools. I mean, if she was going to take something to sell them, certainly it would have been far smarter for her to take the tools, which she probably could have sold.
She plays when she takes it just to
I
when I get out of jail, so I have nothing.
So
she wants
far,
to ruin
Mr.
me.
Osborne, the one who's playing a game is you, who's playing a game with a court.
No, ma'am. No,
with
ma'am.
a court, because you're not here because of the things she allegedly took from your apartment.
Yes, I am.
Your problem, the two of you, is that you made a baby and you had no right to make a baby until you had made a life together. That's what you did. That's a
why
mistake.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a
That's
mistake.
why I wanted to wait to have
I
a
want to
child.
tell you something. I would run away from you too, sir. You don't know how to be quiet. I mean, there's something very controlling about your manner. What I'm telling you is you made a baby, you had no business making a baby, but now baby has 2 parents. So I assume that eventually a judge is going to hear this case. I assume you've been legally declared the father of this child, sir, is that right?
No, not legally, but it's in the birth certificate.
That's not legally. Well, if you... What?
That's all I
Another
ever.
reason
I don't
why
have the
left
money to
him-
do a DNA
Another
test.
reason why I left him also is because he's mentally and physically abusive, and I have proof of that. I have permanent scars on my body that I've never asked him for a penny. He's lived off of me all his life since we got
I want to pay
together.
child support. She won't even let me pay child support.
Then that was very bad judgment on your part.
Yes, it was.
Especially if you have a disability. That's very bad judgment on your part to live
Yes,
with
ma'am.
somebody who is abusive. Clearly, this was not a relationship that was destined to go on for 25 years. Unfortunately, you made this child, and the child has two parents. All I want to know, sir, is you don't need $1,500, which is what you're suing for, to go into court and file a petition asking legally to be declared the father of this child. Once you're legally declared to be the father of this child, along with that comes certain rights. One of the rights is to have a regular time to see your daughter. Regular. That's what's supposed to happen. It's not supposed to be a controlling situation so that you call whenever you want to see the child.
I realize
because
that, yeah.
clearly that's not going to work here. So you're going to have somebody else set up a schedule for you. But you have to go into court to do that. Are you still receiving AFDC?
Yes, ma'am, just for the child, and I'm receiving disability for myself.
Well, if she's receiving AFDC
Your
for the
Honor?
child,
Your Honor, when she was living with me, in all the places that she was living, she was getting AFDC and welfare and saying that she was living at their house. That's perjury. That is lying to the social service who I'm talking to now on fraud, welfare fraud.
I don't think so.
Notified welfare when she moved.
let me tell you something.
She
sir.
worked with my mother. I moved her in when I first met her to take care of nurse and take care of my mom and maid. And she did not claim that she was living there earning money.
Yes,
Lorraine
I
is the
told the
Lorraine is the
welfare
witness.
office.
Is all that Kelly, her granddaughter, has done to me. I'm living with Lorraine now. We were supposed
First
to
of
get
all,
married.
she's not my legal grandmother.
No, but she took custody of Kelly when she was 12 years old.
No, she did not. I ran away to her when I was 12.
Listen, I'm really not interested in going back to the flood, sir. What I'm telling you is, and I don't mean to be hard on you. I really don't mean to be hard on you. But this is the mother of your child. You're not supposed to put her in jeopardy. By what you just said to me now, you have placed her in jeopardy. Why would you want to do that?
Because she is not. She's not a fit mother. That's why.
And like you're a fit father.
I have witnesses that she was
Well, listen,
at
you
a
tell
bar drunk, staggering, and she's supposed to be a mother of my child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did I ever hit you?
Yeah, what the hell is this?
Oh no.
What is this?
You were drunk.
Yeah, I was
I
drunk.
pushed you. Did I
Yeah,
hit you?
I was
No.
drunk. Yeah.
And later today,
Do you really believe in this position that you've taken for me?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and let me tell you where you're all wet.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
I would hope that whatever judge hears your case and hears your petition for paternity and custody or visitation, whatever you will be seeking, does a full forensic examination, that is a full psychiatric and psychological evaluation of both of you. And I would assume that once those forensics are done, if they are done by a qualified person, the judge will have all the information that he or she needs to make an appropriate order for custody or visitation. My case here is a very simple one. You have not established to my satisfaction that she took anything from this apartment that belonged to you, and I am dismissing your lawsuit. With the proviso, sir, that if you want visitation, and not just to be tootin', you go into court yourself, you don't need a lawyer, you petition the court to be legally declared the father of this child. They will immediately make an order of support so that I, the taxpayer, don't have to support your child, which I am doing now.
She won't let me pay child
just
support.
a second.
She wants
I
to
don't want
keep
you.
collecting
Just a second.
AFDC and get my child away from me.
Listen to me. Judge, listen to me, Judge. Full forensic examinations before you make any order. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please. Thank you,
She keeps their marriage going, and she's told me some of the things that she does with them.
He's jealous. He's jealous of the relationship
Maybe because
that we
he has
have.
to sit in his bedroom with his mags.
Parties on Young versus Cornelius. Step forward, please.
Financial controller Lucinda Young says she loaned Aaron Cornelius money and even adjusted his tax deductions because she felt sorry for him. but he won't pay her back.
Ms. Young, I gather that you work in the accounting department where the defendant works as an employee. Is that correct?
I'm the controller.
According to your complaints, he came to you and asked to borrow $168. That was a personal loan. You gave him $168. He hadn't paid you back.
Right.
Is that it?
That's it.
You say it has nothing to do with a personal loan.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, let's hear what your defense is.
My defense is that she had told me that the government was taking too much money away from me on each paycheck, that she can correct that by blocking my taxes for periods of time.
What do you mean blocking your taxes?
Basically where the money comes to me now instead of at the end of the year.
So she was going to add more deductions for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say in your answer to this claim that as a result of that, it cost you some money.
That's correct.
How much money did it cost you?
Approximately almost $500 at the end of the year that I ended up owing due to this block.
It's not a block. It's just changing the number of deductions.
Changing the number of deductions, yes.
Well, let me ask you, sir, how did you come to ask her, how did she come to give you this $168? I want you to tell me exactly what happened. She's in her office.
Right. I had approached her and told her that due to what we have did to my paycheck, that it had ended up making me owe at the end of the year, and you know, it was hurting me financially, and she had offered to help. And she said she had wrote me out a check for $168, and I said thank you, and I didn't assume that it was a loan due to the fact that it was her negligence that brought me to this point anyway.
Now you want to tell me your version of how this came about?
Well, Aaron came into my office and said, I've been making payments all along to the IRS. And this was in October of '96, so obviously his tax return, I assume, was filed on time in April. He said, I owe $168, or they're going to garnish me. Well, we don't like garnishments where I work because they cause a little extra work for all of us. And, you know, I've known Aaron for as long as he's worked at the company. And I said, Aaron, how much is it? How much do you need to not be garnished? He said, $168. I said, okay, I'll write you a check. Pay me back when you can. Here's $168. The garnishment came through next week, the following week. I said, what'd you do with the money? But obviously that's history now. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay, but you said to him, here's the $168, pay me back when you can.
He offered to sign a note. In fact, that was the first thing he said before I even offered to give him the money. He said, I'm happy to sign a note, whatever it takes, but I need this money now. I said, you don't need to sign a note. I know you. You've been working here a while. I won't do it again, but...
Now, Mr. Cornelius, do you really believe in your position, sir?
Excuse me?
Do you really believe in this position that you've taken before me?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Well, then let me tell you where you're all wet.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
She explained to you, if I believe what you say, that if you took, let's say, 4 deductions, you would get more in your salary each week, and it would probably be a wash with regard to taxes. You wouldn't have to pay any taxes, and you would end up with more dollars in your hand, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So what happened was, you still got more dollars. She didn't get any gain out of this. You did. If she put more deductions, that means you got more money in your paycheck each week. Why should she have to pay for that? She didn't write a company check. She wrote her own personal check. You still got the money.
Okay.
Now, did you go to her office and say, if I don't send them $168, they're going to garnish my salary?
That's correct.
And did she say to you, I'll give you the $168 because we don't like that to happen. You'll give it back to me when you can?
She had said to assist me, yes. She did say she would assist me, yes.
You left out the last part, Mr. Cornelius.
That's correct, because I don't recall that part.
Well, she recalls it, and it sounds very logical to me.
Well, I have it in an email here that he intended to pay me back.
Because you kept hounding me about it, and I was going to try to
just a
square it away.
second. Did you put it in a letter to her that you were going to pay her back?
Yeah, because she kept hounding me about it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $168. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out the back door to your right.
On the
versus Corlett, step forward.
23-year-old Missy LaBeouf wants her party guest, Chris Corlett, to pay for the door he kicked in after his brother Matt was kicked unconscious at her party.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is number 71 on the calendar in the matter of LaBeouf versus Corlett.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Judges' parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have seats, sir.
You know the defendant. You had a birthday party. You say he broke your door, the door to your house. Tell me about it.
I had a birthday party, a dual fiesta party. It was.
What is that? What's a dual fiesta party?
Meaning two people threw it. My friend and I threw it.
For yourselves?
Yes, for ourselves. It wasn't just a regular party. We rented a tent. We had a band. We had an open bar, food. Chris was one of the guests. He came. He brought his brother Matt, which is the witness, and his younger brother, and his younger brother's friend. The whole party went on throughout the night. I guess one of the younger brother's friends got in a fight with another person at the party. Matt ended up coming over to break up the fight. Matt ended up getting knocked out. Chris came running over, saw Matt knocked out, turned to me and said, "Call 911." And I looked over at Matt. I did not see him in the shape of 911 emergency. And I said,
What do
"No."
you mean you didn't see him in the shape of 911 emergency?
He was getting up. He was standing up.
But he had been knocked to the ground?
I believe so.
What do you mean you believe so? If he was getting up, he had to be on the ground.
Well, yeah, he was getting up off the ground.
Right. So his brother came over and said, "Call 911."
Mm-hmm.
Because someone had just assaulted his younger brother.
Yes.
And what did you do?
I said, "Why don't you take him to the hospital that's about a mile down the street?" Chris ignored me, went over to my front door, kicked down my front door, went in, called 911, came back out, grabbed his brother's friends, whom, by the way, were underage, the people that he brought to the party, and was allowing them to drink.
No, you were allowing them to drink. If it was
Well, I
in your
didn't know
house.
who they were. Chris brought them. They were actually uninvited guests.
Then you should have told them to leave.
I didn't know. There was a lot of people at the party. Chris ended up leaving the party before 911 had got there. 911 arrived. I had to explain to 911 why there was no victim on the scene. They were telling me they were going to charge me and they would let it go this time. Chris came over the next day with Matt to pick up a friend of theirs that spent the night and still had not gone to the hospital. Matt was saying, "Oh, you know, I'm hurt and all this stuff." It still had not gone to the hospital. So to go on with the story, so then I said to Chris agreed, you know, they kicked down the door and that he would fix it.
Why was the door locked?
Because we had people going around to the side door because we had carpeting. We had people going through where there was linoleum.
Okay, and if they had to use any of the parts of the house, like the bathroom, they went go around the side of the house.
We had signs saying bathroom this way.
So is how she related the story pretty much the way it happened?
Well, it's colorful, but it's highly inaccurate.
I'm here to listen.
Boy, I don't know where to begin. I saw my
Don't
brother...
begin at the flood. Just begin at the time you saw your brother assaulted.
I saw my brother assaulted out of the corner of my eye, and he was hit in the head with the gentleman's fist, and then kicked in the head.
You mean when he was down?
When he was down, he was kicked in the head. In fact, he had a CAT scan. I mean, he was unconscious for what I considered a long period of time.
Even a minute is a lot.
I ran over to him. Miss LaBeouf, like she said, was there. I did ask her to call 911. She said, "Just give him a minute, he'll be fine." And he was unconscious, completely unconscious. I asked her again to call 911. She would do nothing, so I ran to the front door, which was the closest door to where the incident took place, and it was locked. And I kicked the door in, and I dialed 911. And I have a police report here that documents exactly what I did.
Why didn't you wait for the police, sir?
When I came back to my brother, Missy was still there. He slowly regained consciousness, and I asked him. I said, "Matt, what can I do for you?" I mean, I've never been so scared in my life. I mean, and he said, "Just get me out of here. Just get me out of here." We didn't know who this guy was. We'd never met him. We'd never even seen him. We didn't know if he had 10 friends there.
You're Matt.
Yes.
Step up, sir. How did this incident begin?
Well, After I was assaulted, I really, don't have much recollection of what happened.
Immediately
Okay,
before.
I was talking to one of my friends who was also a guest at the party, and like Missy said, there had been an altercation earlier in the night with this young man that was at the party, and I remember that they had exchanged words, and there was a fight ready to be broken out. So I turned around with actually like this, because I was talking to another young lady, and I said, excuse me, and I said, you know what, we don't want to fight. I said, we're here for a birthday party. No one wants to fight. I turned my head, and the next thing I knew it, he hit me right in the head. I fell to the ground, shaking like this. I tried to get up like this, and I turned my head, and he booted me right in the face, and out I went. And after that, that's really what happened. Since February 28th, there's been a Class 1 felony assault with a deadly weapon out for this gentleman's arrest.
What they're forgetting to tell you also is Chris was allegedly trying to blackmail me to find out this person's name for him, or else he said he wouldn't fix my door.
Would seem to me that since this incident occurred in your home and one of your invited guests was assaulted, you would want to be as cooperative as possible and find out the name of the person.
Yeah.
Why did it require this kind of blackmail in order to get you to get out there and get this name for them?
It didn't require anything. They were making a mountain out of a molehill out of this whole situation.
That's not a mountain out of a molehill, madam.
He could have been killed.
I want to explain something to you. If somebody had come up to you, just you, at your birthday party, punched you in the face, and then kicked you in the head, I guarantee you wouldn't be standing there saying to me, he's making a mountain out of a molehill.
Your Honor,
Shut up!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Listen, when it looks as if you're winning, you're supposed to shut up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The whole thing is they were drinking all night long. It was 2:30 in the morning, and they really didn't know what they were doing.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chris Corlett says that he had no choice but to kick Missy LaBeouf's door down at Missy's party.
Miss LaBeouf, I have a couple of questions for you. My sense is that I'm not getting a full story from you with regard to his condition at the time he asked you to call 911. Because common sense would tell me that you were having a birthday party, and the prospect of having the police arrive because of an emergency was not something that you relished. So I doubt whether he was as in good shape as you suggest he was when this young man asked you to call 911.
No, that had nothing to do with it. The party, it was 2:30 already. The party had been going all night long. I cared more about my friend. I've known Matt since 8th grade. I went to homecoming with him my freshman year.
So why didn't you just go inside and call 911?
I would have, but Chris was completely irate and drunk and overreacting. If Chris said, Missy, go in and call 911, and I looked over and I saw Matt in a completely knocked out condition, I would have. Matt was getting up. First of all, you can ask my witness.
He said that he was punched in the face and kicked in the head, and he has no recollection of anything after that.
Then why did Matt go to the hospital that night is what I want to know.
When did you go to the hospital, sir?
I went to the hospital the next morning, right after I left Missy's house. First I went to the hospital, and then I went over to the sheriff's station, and I filed a report. And my doctor in urgent care in Glendale said that I was very, very lucky to be alive.
Don't tell me what your doctor said.
I'm just...
But that's when you went to the doctor the next day. Ms. LaBeouf, don't you believe you have any responsibility towards his injuries?
No, because I don't feel that I started the fight.
The fight, it took place in your home. It took place in your home.
You know who started the fight? The minors that they brought to the party.
When you have a party in your home, you almost act as an insurer for the guests. You understand that?
Yes.
Well, you know, I assume that you haven't sued Miss LaBeouf for the injuries that you sustained.
Not yet, Your Honor. No.
Well, how do you feel about this door?
You know, as Missy said, initially I felt badly about the door. We have been friends for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as I had time to think about it, I thought, why am I fixing this door? I did what I would have done the same for you or her or anyone else. And if it had been Missy who had been laying in the bushes and I'd kicked the front door in to call 911, there's no way she would have sued me. If I'd been at someone else's house, and I had no choice to do it, and if I had it to do over again, I'd do it 100 times. I'd kick 10 doors in. That's what I had to do. Ethically and morally, if not legally, I felt I was obligated to do it. And If that's wrong, I don't want to be right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know, when someone has head trauma, you don't know how serious it is. And he was knocked completely unconscious.
And later today,
That's not my problem. That's your problem. I went to where I was supposed to go.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chris Corlett says that he had no choice but to kick Missy LaBeouf's door down at Missy's party.
This young man is going to have a coronary unless he comes up and tells me what he has to say. I see him out of the corner of my eye. I assume you have something germane to say to me, sir. Do you?
Sure.
Sure. You better be.
Well,
Your name first.
my name's Ed.
Ed what?
Witness. Ed Marchand. After Matt was assaulted, he was laying on the ground and he was attempting to get up. And Chris, being an older brother, was concerned, and rightfully so. And I was right there with him when he called 911. I was going to go and assist him to do that. I almost went to grab him, and I almost was struck in the face when he went to kick the door with the back of his foot. It was right there, and I couldn't believe that he actually managed to kick the door down in one kick.
Did you witness this assault, sir?
I didn't actually see him getting struck in the head, but I was less than 10, 15 feet away.
But you saw him on the ground.
I saw him on the ground.
And you saw his brother upset.
Yes.
And you heard his brother, defendant, ask Miss LaBeouf to call 911.
Yes.
And she did not go.
She did not go. I offered to
She did not go.
She did not go.
He was standing with his brother.
Mhm.
And he asked the host of the party to please go and call the police because his brother had just been assaulted, correct?
Right.
The host did not call, correct?
Correct.
This case is dismissed. Thank you.
All right, sir, excuse me. Step out.
No.
I'll back door to your right, please.
He made hostile phone calls. He was rude. He was mean.
Well, I never made any phone calls. You guys called me.
Yeah. With Chris, no. I never really had any respect for him, and everybody in our town doesn't anymore because of this case.
Party's on Westlock versus Gimbalane. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Andrew Westlock put bail up for his friend DeEtte Gimberlin in St. Paul, Minnesota. Now he's suing her because she didn't show up at the court and he lost the money.
All right, you're tooling down the road in New Mexico with some friends in a car, correct?
No, Marshall, Minnesota.
Marshall, Minnesota. How did I get that wrong? Let's see your papers. Well, okay. Marshall, Minnesota. And you get pulled over for speeding. Neither one of you were driving, correct? You're passengers in the car.
Yep.
Policeman tells you all to step outside, takes identification from everybody, and you had an outstanding warrant.
Yes.
For what?
Theft by check. That's what they told me, which was the first I ever heard of it.
I doubt that.
No, seriously. If I had a warrant, then they would have came and picked me up a long time ago.
There's a warrant outstanding for your arrest.
Right.
You were a nice guy. What did you do?
Well, she got taken to jail, and then the next morning I signed for her to get out of jail on a bail bonds.
And did you have to put up any money?
Well, she had the money. She gave it to me
Paid
before
money.
she went. She
Can't get two
gave me-
people.
She gave me the $130-some that I had to pay to get her out the next day.
Okay, so you went to the bail bondsman,
Correct.
gave the bail bondsman $130.
Correct.
She got out of jail,
Correct.
and she was given a date to appear in court.
Correct.
Right? And what was the date you were supposed to appear on the warrant, madam?
Well, he's just telling me this morning that I had to appear in Marshall, Minnesota. But why would I appear in Marshall, Minnesota? My theft by check had nothing to do with Marshall, Minnesota. So they gave me a court date in Minnesota, which was in Minnetonka, where my court date was, and that's what I did. I went to the court date they gave me, which is right here on this piece of paper. If you'd like to show her. And that was my first appearance. So I went to court like they asked me, okay?
Okay, so you're saying you went to court?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you tell me what happened to you, because you're here.
I got a nice little nifty note saying that the defendant, DeEtte, did not show up, and we were supposed to appear July 18th, 1996 in Ramsey County Court to deal with this bail issue. I don't know what about her
Because
issues.
the bail bondsman said
He wants his money.
he wants his money because she didn't appear where She was supposed to, even though she may have misunderstood where she was supposed to appear. Anyway, you got stuck with how much money?
$1,193.06.
Tell me how that happened. You went to court?
Yeah, and I didn't have enough money to pay the bail bondsman up front, so we decided on a
No,
little...
tell me what happened when you went to court. I'm really curious. You went to court and said what?
Well, all I could say is I have to pay it because she never showed up. That's all I could do.
No, just a second. Did you try to contact her when you were notified that she didn't appear on this case that she had, and you were going to be stuck for this $1,193.06?
Yeah.
Cents?
I asked her if she'd pay me, and she said she would, and I ain't seen a dime.
Can I say something now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, he never contacted me.
Mary.
His mother contacted me and called me all kinds of foul names, saying she was going to sue me and everything, so she should be here.
Miss
with me.
Kimberline, you're given a court date. You think that if you don't appear on that court date, they send you a second invite? The answer to that is yes or no. They don't send you a second invite.
They didn't send me a first invite.
They don't have to send you a first
Then how do
invitation.
I know to go?
Because you're given the date when you are released.
Right, and it was for Ridgedale Court, not Ramsey County Court.
Good. The court made a mistake. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
The court made a mistake.
Yes.
Why should he have to deal with that?
He should be calling, like I said, why can't we call and get this cleared up? I went to court the date they gave me when I was
get it cleared up.
Listen, ma'am. Ma'am, listen. The date they gave me, if you give me back that piece of paper, I'll tell you the date that they gave me when I was released in Marshall, Minnesota. I only received one date. It's on that paper, and I went to the court.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's an innocent bystander to this whole problem. He got stuck with this bill. If it was a mistake, it's a mistake that you, not him, have to deal with. Why should he have to go back to court and spend time and effort? There was no warrant outstanding for his arrest.
Right, and I
Only
agree with
yours.
that. I agree with that, but if I wouldn't have been called and call all kinds of filthy names while they're trying to make me call and find out what the problem was, I would have did it no problem. But his mother called day after day, was very rude and cursed me out, called me filthy names. No, I'm not going to do nothing
Well,
for
Miss
her.
Kimberlane, let me ask you this question. The first time his mother called you, did you say, oh, listen to me. Did you say, oh, I'm really sorry, that was really a mistake. I was supposed to be there. I will immediately, first thing tomorrow, get on the stick and go and find out what happened because you surely shouldn't be out this money? Or did you say something like this? That's not my problem, that's your problem. I went to where I was supposed to go. What did you say to his mother when she called?
I asked the lady, well, what do you mean, why didn't I go to court? I said, I did go to court. She said, well, you didn't go to court on the 18th. I said, well, I don't have a court date for the 18th. And that's as far as it got. Then she got nasty, I got nasty.
Just a second. Just a second. Did you say to her, well, there must be some sort of a problem, and I will take care of it because your son certainly shouldn't be out this money. He wasn't at fault. The court may have been at fault. Maybe I was at fault. I will certainly take care of it. Did you say that?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, that's what you should have said, so I can understand it if his mother got really annoyed. Because this young man is a very mild-mannered young man. I'm surprised he's not here hooting and hollering. I mean, he went to court and he said, they said to him, you owe $1,100. And he said, okay, where do I pay? Give me a break. Give me a break. Listen to me. You get into high gear, take a couple of vitamins, get down to the court and try to work this out because it's going to cost you $1,193.06. That's what you owe him. And then you take care of your problem with the court because it's not his problem, it's yours. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,193.06. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Camera is coming. बस एक चीज नोट कर नोट कितना एक अच्छा ना इधर ये जगह इतना देख हार्ट से देख बॉल पिचिंग नहीं करना है you can see the cracks on the pitch